Diaries of a Madman. By What Must I Do? Chapter 194. Part 1 of 3. Man, life sucks, I sighed. As your guide, I feel obligated to point out that such a life view is unhealthy, Flowlight replied. Would a glass of lemonade be welcome? It would be. I stared at her for a few seconds, just waiting. She stared right back. Let me guess, you were just asking, you don't actually have any way of giving me lemonade. I assumed being reminded of a comfort would put your mind at ease. I sighed again, running a hand down my face. Do I have any messages? Yes, from Doppel. Wait, Doppel? How did she get in here? My guide shrugged. Well, whatever. Play. It's good to see you again, my lady, Doppel said. After Luna told us all that you could hear what we say, we worked out a system so that we can all talk to you at least once. That way, we can finally drill the fact that you're the best lady ever into your skull. And if you get out and you still aren't sure, we can take turns drilling you in other ways until it clicks. That's Doppel for you. We all know you feel worthless, my lady. It took us a long time to understand it, but we finally do. That's why we try so much to help you see how much you truly mean to us all. For so long, my entire life was dedicated to the hive, to Queen Chrysalis. I see now how mindless I was. I've done so much to destabilize so many places, and all for what? So a queen who barely knows my name can throw me aside on a whim? Being a maid is safer, more fun, much easier, and more filling than being a spy ever was. I can't even remember the last time I've been hungry, my lady. I really hate how everyone conspires against me behind my back, I said. That said, we also know you got into this coma to help you change, so we decided the best way we could help you is to give you suggestions. We all love serving you, but there are certain things that... Well, let's just say we both know you need to make some changes, my lady. Oh boy, here we go, I said, rolling my eyes. I think the most obvious thing is, well, how openly slutty you are. Don't get me wrong, I love playing with you as much as I can, but making jokes about it at a party is unwise. Says the one who put a vibrator inside of me at a party, although I had let her, so whatever I guess. I think that's the biggest issue I had, Doppel said. If you ever want to act slutty at all, Twilight knows a spell that can turn you into a changeling. Just pretend to be me and let all the guards run a train on you. Which brings me to the next biggest issue. Taya. Spike told me what happened with Aqua and your poor filly. It's disgusting and horrific, but we'll help both of you get through this. With luck, she'll actually be happy, but you need to talk to her. Seriously and in depth. She's completely terrified now that she knows she didn't actually have your permission. Yeah, so am I. Which is exactly why I had been avoiding the talk. I was also hoping the coma would give me some insight on what to actually say. Everyone knows you never asked for Taya, Nav. And everyone knows you consider yourself to be a bad parent. But we also all know that you love each other. You'll find a way to make this work, even if it seems scary and daunting now. The best part is, you can force Aqua to help you. If Aqua was in any way a good parent or guardian, I wouldn't have been so eager to escape her so-called loving grasp. More to the point, she wouldn't have done this to Taya in the first place. On the upside, what happened with Taya got us thinking. If it's as easy as a potion, there's nothing stopping us from being with you forever, too. Oh fuck no, I said. No, I'm cutting this one off right now. Flo, you track all of them down and you tell them fuck no right now. And since we knew you might try to stop us, all of us who wanted to do it already have. Now we finally get to serve our wonderful lady forever. She waited a few more seconds before giggling. Oh man, I really wish I could see your face right now. No, we talked about it, but we decided to wait and see what you think. Flo, I would like you to give Doppel the tentacle monster treatment next time you see her, please. Another thing you definitely need to work on is formality. I know you're not one for stuffy affairs and all that nonsense, but you're no longer in a position where you have a choice. If you want to keep your platform, you need to maintain it. Part of that will be attending events, which requires being on your best behavior. Well, not your best behavior. Let's say Fluttershy's best behavior. Polite, reserved, quiet. And when you can actually get her to talk, animated and vocal. You shouldn't be volunteering inappropriate information all the time, even if it's funny sometimes. I remember that Taya got mad at me for it, too. So did the others. I guess that makes it something I should work on. Is changing yourself to make others happy truly wise? My guide asked. It is when it involves something you know they're right about. I usually say inappropriate stuff to distract away from something else. Doppel sighed and seemed to get louder. They said you couldn't feel anything, so I just wanted to let you know that I took a second to cuddle up against you. Now, as much as I want to tell you to work on your femininity and to practice being a better lady, I won't. I can't. It's not right. As much as you like putting on a show, I know this is killing you. I know it's something you despise. By now, I know that deep inside, you're still very much my master, no matter what everyone else is trying to tell you. And let me tell you, I know from experience that ignoring the shrieking voice inside of you is a terrible idea. Well, I mean, shit. Which raises the question of what exactly to do, Doppel said. You are our lady. There is no fighting that fact, I'm afraid. And unfortunately, I don't think I have an answer for you. Everyone else seems so gung-ho about you being the perfect lady, but I know it's wearing on you. It's getting worse and driving you further and further down, to the point where you felt like this was your only option. I just know that pretending there isn't a problem solves nothing, and I owe you so much that I can't just sit here and act like nothing is wrong. You were born a man. You still want to be one. You hate acting girly and dressing like a lady. You hate this act. We have to find a solution for this, my lady. You'll just end up right back in another coma if we don't. Unless the coma can explain to me how being a lady is a good thing, I said with a shrug. Which is entirely possible, I suppose. I mean, it has a few upsides, but most of those involve being a massive slut. If I'm working on changing that, most of the upsides go right out the window. I guess that should be our little secret, though, she said. It seems like many of your other followers think making you act more and more ladylike is a good idea. There are a few different philosophies of thought, but whatever. I don't really have any more things to change. I do have some updates, though. I spoke to the two mares who were considering working for you. They are apparently sisters and quite intrigued at the thought of working for the mysterious Lady Navarone. They grew up in a noble's house with their parents, so they have plenty of experience. Their current contract will be finishing up in a week and they've already agreed to the terms in the new 1 Silver Road up. We won't actually formalize it until you meet them, but they'll begin working probationary as soon as they can. That's interesting, I guess. You have had multiple letters and visits from Mages Guild representatives. Apparently some of them have approached Taya in school, too. Luna has taken temporary possession of the book, to ensure we can visit you whenever we want and to make sure those creeps don't get their withered old hooves on it. I'm relatively confident that they aren't happy you had a hand in eradicating 3/7 of their council. One of the visitors was the dehorned mare, who desperately wants to talk. That sounds like a huge side quest that I really don't want to get involved in, I said. I really had a feeling I shouldn't have let those guys into the book. Talking to those assholes is gonna be a huge waste of time. You've had a few other visitors as well, including a large griffin noble from Griffiths. He was asking after a Rosie, I think? I'm not sure. He thought you would know her. Nope, never heard of her, I replied with a shrug. I think that's a lie, my guide said. I know I've never heard of a Rosie, Doppel said. But maybe you have. Who knows? He said he'll be in Canterlot until he finds her, so I'm sure he'll stop by again. That sounds like a perfect thing for Twilight to deal with, I said. She was the one who was all gung-ho about turning me into a slutty maid. She can deal with the consequences. As the guide in charge of helping you grow, I feel it's my duty to point out that's not really how consequences work. You were the one who seduced him. Should it not be you who deals with him? I dunno, probably. But I don't wanna, so making Twilight do it is easier. I don't really have any more updates, Doppel said. But I think I'm gonna stay here a bit to cuddle you some more. I won't keep bothering you. Have fun in there, my lady. And with that, my maid's voice left my mind. Well, that was interesting. Doppel noticed I'm having a hard time being a lady. I'm glad she told me. I'm surprised she told me I needed to stop pretending. I hope the coma will make that easier to decide. Are you prepared to continue onward? My guide asked. Hearing from Doppel helped put the awful shit from the party out of my mind, but it all came crashing back on me when she asked if I was ready. I'm prepared, all right, I said. Prepared to die a quick and painless death. Aqua, I really need you to pull through for me. I know this is what you always really wanted, deep down. Don't let flow stop you. This is an order. Make it happen. She's letting flow stop her, my guide uselessly pointed out. You're useless, Aqua. I shouted into the air. In her mind, there is no problem that can't be solved with mind control. Misbehaving princess? Mind control. Misbehaving human? Mind control. Misbehaving filly. On that last one, she leaned in expectantly. Mind control. I sighed. Bingo. Most of your problems stem from those around you who act in ways you would prefer they not. Why not just, deal with that? I lifted an eyebrow. In her perspective, of course. Of course, I dryly replied. It's strange how you, a water elemental look-alike, can so easily see her perspective. I only know what you know. She took over Celestia. She took over you. She's talked about taking over Taya and others. Ahoy! Are there any other messages? No. It seems they mean to keep their word not to bother you too much. Well. Thankfully, Flo is a useful elemental. She can play the memories of the coma back whenever I want so I can revisit these awful things to take more from them. So far, all I seem to be getting is that I've almost completely surrounded myself with psychopaths and or crybabies. I think Aqua could do the same thing, actually. Probably, but inspiring competition by giving praise and scorn where they're due gives me a better experience as a user. With the two of them competing to pamper me the most, I can't lose. I don't have a reply to that. Are you prepared to move on? I really don't want to, but this coma is the endurance run to end all endurance runs. Let's do it. Her eyes flashed and we departed the glade. This time, we ended up in Spike's room at the Treebrary in Ponyville. I assume there wasn't any extra plant stuff around because we were already inside of a tree. Spike was in bed, staring at the ceiling. How long did I spend trying to get close to Rarity? How many years was it? How long was I the perfect little gentle colt for that spoiled rotten mare? And for what? Not a whole lot, I said. I know I can't expect Rarity to just fall for me. Everyone has different interests. But, all those years, and she never noticed? Not even once? And in the end, to think I would be better off with stallions? If the mare I spent so much time with knows so little about me. There really is no chance of a future for me in Equestria. I'm too different. He finally turned to lay on his side, staring out the window. Alas, to be a dragon in a pony's world. If it's anywhere near as hard as being a human in a pony's world, I'd say it's all kinds of shitty. At that dragon migration, they told me I was a hostage. It sounded so true at the time, but when I got back and started thinking, I started doubting. Celestia has always been so nice, the perfect mother. She did send me to Egypt, but it was with Nav. She knew he'd keep me safe. And he did, at the cost of himself. Yeah, you're welcome. Bitterness is unbecoming of a hero, Reason said. I honestly hadn't realized any of them were there. Is there truth to it, or do you merely jest? To be honest, I'm not sure. I'm mad that I had to suffer to keep Spike safe, but I objectively know it wasn't his fault. On the same vein, if he hadn't been there, I probably would have been fine. Then there's the later case in Iceland where trying to help him got me tortured, but that's a whole other thing. I know I shouldn't be bitter, but pain and suffering make it easy, Pain said. Spike is worthless. All he ever does is hold you back. That's objectively false, I said. He has his uses. That said, there are many things he's bad at. All things told, I know I'm better for his company. I just have to remind myself every now and then. So maybe I'm not a hostage. And maybe I am. Reginald implied it. He talked about a treaty and eggs. It doesn't take much to assume I'm one of them. But assuming and knowing. I could ask Nav, but there's no telling how he'd react. I could see him pushing Celestia a little too far and getting us both in trouble. He rolled onto his back again and sighed. You see this shit? I ask. This motherfucker right here is holding back knowledge that I really fucking needed, making us both suffer an unnecessarily bad fate. This is some Reginald tier shit. Spike sought to protect you, Reason said. Is that not a just cause? Just because I understand why he didn't tell me doesn't mean I can't be pissed about it. Are you sure? Reason slowly asked. I wasn't, actually, but whatever. Although if I try to leave and we both get in trouble anyway, it would be a moot point. It'll be the perfect hostage test. If Celestia actually lets me leave, I'll know it was a lie. If she tries to stop us, it'll mean I have a reason to run. And just, completely leave me out of your plans. The guy who stuck his neck out for you at every turn, including a chance to leave this pastel hellhole behind. Just the best and only true friend you've had in this horrible place. Why is this making you so angry? Reason asked. He's but a child. Can he not be forgiven for his thoughts? This is what I've been thinking all along, I said. This, toxicity. So often, I look at relationships as transactional. As though the effort I put into them should be directly reciprocated. That's because they should, Reason said. That's literally the sole purpose for relationships. If you are giving more than someone else, then you are being taken advantage of. Do you feel that is the case with Spike? I feel like that's the case with a whole lot of people. I'm trying to look at it through another lens, but all this coma is showing me is that trying to do the right thing was, generally speaking, wasted effort. So far, pretty much everyone I've dealt with has either been using me, lying to me, or withholding incredibly valuable information. I've had a lot of positive interactions with a lot of people, but all I've seen so far is that I would have been better off as a fucking stillbirth. It's not like Celestia would ever hurt us anyway. She likes Nav too much for that. And if I do get to go free, I've always wanted to see the world. Well, there's no better place to do it than at Nav's side. Learning to fight is tough, but my blood finally feels like it's flowing properly. My first time eating meat was wonderful, but fighting is on an entirely new level. Is this how a predator is supposed to feel? It is, I sighed. Spike is frustrating. Why? Pain asked. Because I didn't want to raise him, but I kind of fucking had to. I never felt it was my place to guide him, but I realize now, at the end of the road. Not only was it my place, but I should have started sooner. Twilight trying to turn an apex predator into a house servant was not going to end well for anybody. As the adult in the room, I should have stepped in sooner. You weren't the adult in the room at the time, Reason said. It didn't take a rocket scientist to see what was going on. I just thought, you know, this is Ponyland, this is normal, right? This little boy seems depressed and down all the time, but surely everything's all peachy, right? I mean, Twilight makes him sleep in a basket which is weird and she treats him like a pet which is weird, but it's Ponyland, right? He doesn't get to go to school like the other kids because he's too busy doing Twilight's chores. What time he doesn't spend with her, he's spending doting after a mare who obviously doesn't care, and it seems like he's the butt of all her jokes, but it's Ponyland. Who cares if you're treating a child like a pariah if it's just a dragon, right? I guess it made perfect sense, to a pony, Reason slowly said. I guess it fucking did. I'm sorry for not stepping in sooner, Spike. If you had stepped in sooner, what would you have done? Reason asked. What would have been different? I would have taken him hunting with me from the start. I would have explained what it means to be a predator. I would have just done so much more. I did, eventually. I just wish I had taken the responsibility on sooner. It is difficult to right a wrong, Reason said. Especially in a world where you are the stranger. The silence that ensued allowed Spike to continue thinking. I actually figured he was done, so it spooked me and made me jump. And if Celestia doesn't let me leave? What will I do then? If I am a hostage, does that mean someone will come to rescue me? Was there a war between dragons and ponies? Could it still be happening? There's no information in any of the books in Ponyville. Navs helped me search them all. I checked all the ones I could find in Canterlot, but nothing. I remember Celestia finding Spike and I in the library in Ramla, I slowly said. The two of us were hunting for books about dragons. She watched us looking. I bet she was laughing on the inside the whole fucking time. I doubt that, Payne said. It's much more likely that she didn't even give it a thought. Things aren't adding up to me. There has to be something. Ponies and dragons have been living in the same world since ponies and dragons have existed. But there's no information anywhere. The dragons told me I was a hostage. They told me Celestia likes censorship. Nav told me censorship means hiding knowledge. That would mean Celestia is hiding the fact that there was a war and that I'm a hostage. But that makes no sense. If there was a war, surely at least a single pony would know about it. Hearing this is painful, I sighed, shaking my head. How long did he spin those words over and over in his head? How many nights do you think he struggled with their meaning? How long do you think he agonized over who he really was? And thus, the takeaway, Reason said. Without you, who would Spike be? I'm done looking to ponies for answers. Equestria doesn't have any of those. Just more and more questions. Nav has a knack for finding answers, though. If any pony will be able to help me, it'll be him. One day, I will know. One day, I will be whole. Until then. Before he could continue thinking, his alarm clock started going off. Just like that, everything around me froze. I helped him find as many answers as I could. I hope they brought him peace. It certainly didn't seem like it, though. That is all a friend can do, my guide said. Are you prepared to move on? I need to find a way to ensure that what happened with Spike doesn't happen to anyone else, I said. Everyone saw what was happening with Spike, but nobody stepped in because he wasn't a pony. None of them would have seen anything wrong with their behavior before you showed up, my guide said. What do you really expect? This is the part where I'd say a little bit of common fucking humanity, but you realized you're talking about an incredibly nationalistic, ignorant, racist species that are dealing with what they conceive to be a lesser species. Yet. That. I guess asking for some common humanity is difficult when they don't actually have a common humanity. So I guess I need to find a way to change pony society, on the whole, to ensure potential cases of abuse don't go unnoticed because the person being abused isn't a fucking pony. Which, again, shouldn't be rocket science. It might not be rocket science, but that doesn't mean it'll be easy. Undoing 6,000 years of brainwashing will take time. Yet. I guess let's move on. My guide's eyes pulsed and we jumped again. We both ended up on top of the wall of my old house, overlooking the ever-free forest. Eva was sitting on the wall, her legs dangling over the side toward the forest. She was just watching the trees sway in the wind. Navarone had no intention of saving us, what sounded like Mimeo thought. Taya and Spike both were quick to confirm that he originally wanted nothing to do with us. That's correct, I said. And I regret what I felt. But when I first met Mirror, she honestly scared me. Do you blame him? Polly thought. After meeting Mirror and seeing inside our head, I'm surprised he decided to give us a chance at all. Do his original intentions even matter? Ganger internally asked. He did help us. Not only did he and Flo help cure our mind, but he gave us a stable place to stay. At what cost? Mimeo thought. He said he would ask things of us later. From the rumors we heard in the hive and from what we've been able to learn here, he lives a dangerous life. Did we trade a life of obvious danger for a life of greater peril? He also said we'd be free to leave as soon as we want, Polly thought. I've seen no reason to doubt his word. He may not have intended to come help us when he first agreed, but he did it anyway. If he says he'll let us leave his side whenever we want, I say we stay with him for as long as we're able. If nothing else, he's earned my loyalty by his actions. Besides, where would we go if we tried to leave? You heard Doppel and Bonnie. Any changeling loyal to the hives would attack us on sight. Being on Nav's side will protect us from that, at the very least. And we have absolutely no money, so we wouldn't have anywhere to stay, Ganger added. We could pretend to be a pony for a while to try to get enough love to sustain us, but, why? We're capable of feeding off Nav and it doesn't seem to bother him much. Give me a month or two in town and I can see about finding a few mares to feed on, too. Bon Bon said no feeding on random town's ponies, Polly thought. We're guests here. We can't offend our hosts and we certainly don't want to get Nav in trouble. Maybe if you ask first, but even then, I suggest caution. Doppel has no such hesitation, Mimeo thought. She talks about the stallions and mares she feeds on all the time. I imagine Ganger's method of feeding would be similar. Still, I also advise caution. If we are going to stay here, we must do nothing to bring undue attention on us. There is safety in inaction. Inaction is a waste, Polly thought. Flo told us what a wonderful gift we have. I'm sure you all recognize it for what it is, now that she helped us declutter. What we have is something nobody else on the planet has, as far as she's aware. Nav is giving us the opportunity to learn. We have to take it so we can discover more about the mind. If we can help others the way Flo helped us, we could save the lives of all the changelings who feed on anger. That seems like an unrealistic goal, Ganger thought. There's no way for us to replicate what Flo does. The magic that powers her is way beyond anything we could ever accomplish. According to Nav, the humans found a way to do this, Mimeo thought. Flo learned how to do it from them. Also according to Nav, the humans did not have magic. That means the solution is non-magic. Flo was able to use her powers to hasten the process, but it's likely doable without it. I'm not sure I would support such a goal, however. It seems we're all in agreement to stay now, at the very least, Polly thought. As for what comes next? Well, we have time to think about it. For the first time in our entire lives, it seems we're safe. Free, essentially. And it seems we have as much time as we need to think about our plans. Are we all in agreement? Ganger asked. Eva, what are your thoughts? Look at that cool bird, she said, pointing one out. Sure enough, it was actually a pretty impressive looking toucan. There wasn't actually any information for them in any bestiary I found, so I got to write the entry myself. They appeared to be a fairly even mix of a toucan and an owl. Oddly enough, they tasted closer to alligator than any bird, but that's what you get for an ever-free animal. I wonder what it does with that huge beak. Were you even paying attention? Mimeo asked. No. Of course we're staying here. It's where Nav is. Why would we want to be anywhere else? Because he's dangerous? Mimeo thought. And I'm not sure if it matters much, but there are rumors in town that he's well known for sleeping around. So is Doppel, Ganger thought. I mean, who wouldn't, if they had the chance and weren't in a relationship? I think he might have been concerned for me and Eva, Polly thought. Not that I think it would matter. Nav may go from mare to mare, but I'm sure he recognizes that Eva is young and wouldn't bother her. As for me, well, I'll accede to Ganger's opinion, who doesn't like the thought of a little fun. If the rumors are true, he's experienced. I wouldn't be opposed to my first time being with our savior. That does raise an interesting question, Mimeo thought. Should we? Well, should we try to stop Eva from, watching? Whoa, it just ate a giant bug. The toucan was gulping down a squirming beetle about the size of my fist. The joke's on the toucan, because the bestiary entry for the beetle mentioned something about them being able to blow a hole in the side of anything that eats them with some kind of magical reaction. I don't think that's gonna be a problem, Ganger thought. There will always be two of us around to distract her at any given moment. We've gotten a little far afield, Polly thought. Are we all in agreement about staying here? I agree that we should stay, Ganger thought. It's an idea that we will need to revisit as things change, but for now, I agree. Why are we even still talking about woe? She shot straight to her hooves as the toucan burst open. What the buck? The beetle shot out of the bird's corpse, flying away with its oversized wings. Did you see that? I am now considerably more enthusiastic about living here, Mimeo slowly thought. So who wants to go see what everyone in the house is up to? Ganger asked. Far away from that thing. He didn't have to tell Eva twice. Her wings twitched and she jumped off the wall to gallop inside, making the memory freeze. You must always remember that you did help her, Reason said from under me. I looked down and saw her standing with fear and hope. There wasn't really room for all of us on top of the wall, I guess. I jumped down with them to make it easier for them to poke me in case there were other memories. You originally had no intention to actually help them, but you did. That's right, I said with a nod. Flo and Spike convinced me that it was the right thing to do. Generally, I'd give Flo shit for forcing my mind to change or making me actually do something, but in this one particular instance, I'd forgive her if she did make me go save Eva. Not that I'm accusing you, of course. What was it about Mirror that scared you so? Fear asked. I dunno, maybe the fact that she was out in the scariest forest in the region pretending to be an animal to get sex? There's also the fact that her personality was really grating. Oh, and when she showed up later, she had a different name and personality. Then her mask cracked a little before she finally left. All things told, it was more than enough red flags for me to write her off as a lost cause. What was it that changed your mind? Hope asked. Again, Flo and Spike. Flo helped me see that we could help her. Spike helped me see that we should help her. And so we did. The only one that seemed bothered by your original intentions is Mimeo, Reason said. Does that surprise you? No. Even then, I'm not entirely sure Mimeo actually cared. They understand that their first impression wasn't the best. Eva asked me to adopt her. That told me everything I needed to know. Do you have any thoughts on Polly wanting you to be her first? Fear ask. No. What's the takeaway from this one? There is no need for your guilt, my guide said. They do not blame you. Forgive yourself for your original plan to abandon them. Easier said than done, but it's good to hear it confirmed. I'm ready to move on. Don't you wanna hug me again? Hope asked with a perfectly practiced grin. No, that's gay. Let's go. Her face instantly fell and tears welled in her eyes. That's all I had time to see before we moved on. End of part 1.